We'll call the Tuesday, July 28th, 2015, regular meeting of the Board of Trustees to order with a roll call, please.
Let me get my paper, sorry. Veronica Frankel.
Present.
Howard Rosenberg.
Present.
Lisa Ruggiero.
Present.
Nick Smith. Angela.
Excused.
All right. Angela Taylor.
Here.
John Mayer.
Here.
And myself. We have a quorum. Thank you.
Okay. Pledge of Allegiance, please. Veronica, would you lead this, please?
The honor to.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. If you want to speak under public comment, there are forms out in the entryway, and please fill them out. I don't have any now is why I'm saying that. I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same signal. So carried unanimous. Let the record show. Public comment, I do not have any cards. Is there anybody that wishes to make a comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to 2.01, board reports. We'll start with Lisa Ruggiero.
Thank you, President Mayor. Well, it's been a busy 2 weeks. I'm so busy I can't even remember what I should report on my board report. But mainly I've been having a lot of conversations with parents. So a lot of our Half-Acre parents, Brown parents, our Double Diamond parents. And as always, it's always rewarding to hear their input and have those conversations. So I think we're doing good work. I'm excited that we have a superintendent now. I was so sad not to be at the last meeting, so I'm going to keep my board report short today, but a lot of parent work the last 2 weeks.
Trustee Taylor.
Mine is short too, just because it's short and there's not much to report. I was gone most of the last 2 weeks. I did get a chance to engage with our parent engagement staff at a block party this past weekend, doing some outreach and just preparing for some things we have upcoming. So that was good. They're out there at places you would not expect, with the table, just trying to connect with parents and any opportunity that they can. So it's just really good to see that.
You see them at a lot of things, so that's great.
Unexpected places. They're there with the table and tracking.
Cards.
Matter of fact, I saw one volunteer track a parent down. Oh. Hey, come over here, come on. I was like, oh, okay. I love your zeal.
That's great.
But no, they're doing a great job, but not much else for me.
Okay. Dr. McClure?
I have had meetings with two of our constituents, and they've been very complimentary about the direction that we're going. Didn't offer any suggestions for much of anything. They just felt that what was occurring at the present time, building on our last strategic plan, was what we really needed to do. Said she thought it was one of the best strategic plans in the country. Another thing that's been going on, of course, I'm on Facebook.
Oh.
I know. But anyway, I've had a number of ex-students who have contacted me about various issues in their lives. One of them is a ex-student from Collin Ranch, and two others are ex-students from Bernice Matthews. So I've been trying to work with them to help them resolve the issues that they've come against in their lives. And it's very rewarding and gratifying to know that those students feel comfortable enough to approach me and feel that, yes, I will help them under any circumstances. And so that's been great. And then I had a birthday, and I had all kinds of best wishes on my birthday.
I didn't know that. Happy birthday.
Well, I admit to having birthdays.
Oh. so you aren't 39?
No, I know. My grandson, when he was 5 and going to kindergarten, and now he's 20, he'll be 24, he said to me at that time, Grammy, you are old. You are really old.
Thanks.
So I now am really old. That's it.
Okay, Mr. Rosenberg.
I had a birthday too.
Oh, you did? Happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
It's Leo and the Cancer crabby guy.
I feel terrible.
I have them every other year. And when someone asks me how old I am, I say 14, but I'm slightly dyslexic. Moving along, this last several weeks, I have been trying to find out what it would be like if I were to retire.
Yay.
I made it for 3 whole days, two of which were weekends, but at least I tried, and I've decided I'm never going to retire because it is really boring. However, I have seen about 12 kids that are products of Washoe County School District that are coming into the university, and they've come for advisement, and they're prepared. They know what they want to do.
Awesome.
And that, normally I don't know what I want to do. And I always say, well, make believe that you do. And we can give you these kids know what they want to do and how they want to do it. And in a number of cases, they're fine. In others, they had to, recognize that there were rules and things that they had to do. So I realized that test scores may not be going through the roof. But I am seeing an improvement over what I have seen before. And I think that should give us a little bit of heart.
Yes.
Trustee Frankel?
Yes, I don't have much to report. I've actually had a number of conversations, like Trustee Ruggiero, with parents, particularly in the South Valleys, primarily about overcrowding and concerns and coming into the school year and what's going to happen. So there's been a lot of one-on-one contacts that I've had. Just today, the one thing I did with another trustee was with Trustee Taylor. We did a little recording for a couple of students, actually, one former student who just graduated, and then an incoming junior at Spanish Springs who have a campaign that's called We All Matter. So Trustee Taylor and Vice President Taylor and I had a little fun doing a couple videos on that, just because sending that message and supporting that message for our kids in our school. I mean, We All Matter is just such an important message to send to everyone to help our kids be successful and to succeed and feel that they matter as they grow. So I just wanted to share that. I want to kudos to Zach. I'm not remembering their last names.
Redmond.
Zach Redmond and Maddie. Do you remember the last name? Dan. Quigley, and they're coordinating the video effort, and they're getting video clips from all over the place, and it's great.
Great.
And I still need to do that. We got it. Okay.
Mine report also will be short, but I want you to know that, I think I sent you a copy of the letter that the parent from Reno High sent me on PE options and thanking us for PE options. And I guess it must have sparked because I met with 2 other parents that also are very thankful for the curriculum that's been developed to allow their students choices when it comes to certain things like PE. And they said that it's made their children better students because they have control over what they're learning. And I thought, kudos to the curriculum department and to all the teachers that work so hard for our students. And then just one note of pride. I went to a wedding of a former student of mine. It's his first marriage, and he had a military wedding, and he asked me to hold one of the sabers as the bride and groom came through. He's a retired colonel in the Air Force. I didn't persuade him to go into the Air Force, but I was really happy. And he married a girl from the same class that he graduated high school, and she was at the school where I taught him. And neither one had been married, and they got reacquainted in a 10-year or 15-year reunion, and fell in love and got married. And
Well, those reunions.
yeah, and it makes me feel good when I get invitations to former students things. So, but it was a beautiful wedding, so I just wanted to share that with you. And
Thank you.
superintendent's report's
you.
probably packed full.
It should be.
Yes.
Feels like I needed on skates today. We have been super busy, but on last weekend I went to the IB conference, the International Baccalaureate Conference of Americas. Worcester presented their information. It was really good, and I actually attended some sessions on what that looks like for vertical alignment. We know that Vaughn is onboarding, and perhaps later in the future looking at what we do with Corbett, since they're right there in that cluster. I had a great opportunity to be the keynote speaker at the Latin Chamber of Business Commerce. Like, they have this long name, right? But it was great. And as a result of that, there's going to be some other opportunities where they want me to come, because I talked about the work that we're doing in our schools, engaging families, learning about what's good. And so they were really excited to hear about a lot of programs. But also, I asked questions like, who knows what read by 3 means? And people are like, well, they don't know, right? So we were talking about engaging parents. Parents don't understand what that means as it relates to their kids. And when you talk about that outreach, we really have to get the word out there, and what does that look like? So we're going to be developing a plan so parents know that the kindergartners entering in school this year need to be at grade level where there's a potential for retention. And we really have to target our ELL families and our families from poverty, because they don't understand those things and what interventions are taking place. And progress monitoring, you know the whole line. I could spend all day on that. Had an interview with KOH today that went really well. So they're inviting me back every month to spotlight something that we do, which is great. So now I think we're doing I Love Reno and KOH once a month to get the word out for a variety of things, whether it's special ed, what we're doing with GT, Capital, just the work that we're doing for kids and how we engage families. And of course, Ralston Live turned out to be fine. It was great. It was a great opportunity if you had a chance to watch it. Michelle was happy when I walked out. She says, you nailed it. But I mean, there was great information and opportunity to talk about the work we do as a community for kids. And moving on, like, we have a district to run and 63,000 kids, and we're going to be dedicated to their student achievement and every child by name and face to graduation. So if you didn't see it, take a peek. That's it.
Thank you, and thank you for representing us so well in the community. We appreciate it. By the way, have we got new sound? It sounds
Not
so
yet.
much better, though. What's
yet.
the difference?
Soon.
Oh, okay. Doesn't it sound clearer to you? It does to me.
JG's getting ready.
My box is full.
Oh, okay. Approval of the consent agenda items, 3.02 through 3.11. Is there anybody wants to pull? Then I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the Board of Trustees approve the consent agenda items 3.02 through 3.11.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So carried. Let the record show unanimously. Moving on then to item agenda 4.01, opening of bids for lease of communication attendance site at Reed High School and award of written or oral bids. Mike.
Hi, thank you very much. For the record, I'm Mike Foster with Capital Projects. And for both of these two items here coming up, we've got the Reed renewal, and then there's the Vaughn cell tower, which is a new tower. If I may take 2 minutes of your time to condense 4 or 5 pages of NRS regarding regarding what the process is for the district to lease property. In this case, it's cell towers, but the NRS is not specific to cell towers. What it does is it lays out a path that we must follow every time we lease anything, whether it's a cell tower, which is usually a pad of property, and or a little building that they would use for their equipment. So let me just run through that real quick, and this covers both of these items. What happens is the district is typically approached by a Verizon or an AT&T or a Sprint, and what we do at that point, given the previous direction of the board, is we we review their proposal. In this case, it's been Reed and Vaughn. We'll go out to the site in question, talk to the administrators on the property, and to ensure that the cell tower, in this case, is compatible with the use on the property, that we're not impeding anything that goes on the school site. Because our first priority is the safety of the students, and then to ensure that we're not giving up something that would endanger a student or endanger staff, that sort of thing. So we meet with them, our capital projects staff, our facilities management staff, and if that initial review looks good, if the school says, yes, that'll work for us, we can make a cell tower work on this property, we then start the NRS process. And what that entails, NRS requires us to get 2 appraisals. And we've typically used the federal rental fee schedule, which is what BLM and the Forest Service uses for towers on their lands throughout the country. And then we use an independent appraisal source. We found one several years ago. You've heard of them, Steel in the Air. I've said that a number of times at this table. After we get those appraisals, we hold the first of 2 required Board of Trustees meetings, which is what we're doing with Vaughn in a little bit. And this first meeting is just to announce the intention of the district to lease property. So what you're doing at that first meeting is saying, yes, we agree that we would like to lease this property out, and we're going to adopt a resolution that says the specifics of the lease, where it is, what it is, that sort of thing. And then 3 weeks later, we must hold a second meeting. So we've got a 3-week period there. We hold a second meeting where a Verizon or an AT&T or a Sprint comes forward and presents a sealed bid. And then those bids are opened in a public meeting, which we'll do for Reed in just a little bit here. And the board has the option to accept, reject, or reject and withdraw the property from consideration at any time. Right now, you could say we don't want to lease anything. We're done. You can say that at any point. At the direction of this and previous boards, the staff and families of the subject schools are also notified through the Connect Ed system and at parent meetings when possible. We've expanded that to include an open style meeting at the school in question. And this is typically taking place after the first meeting, which is, so we announce our intention to lease, and then we hold the open house. So you've announced your intention, and it's almost like a review period, that 3 weeks. We typically hold that meeting after the first. As an example, this is the sequence we followed with Worcester High School, which was approved last year. In the case of cell towers, if the potential SC gets the green light through all these processes, they've got to go through an entirely separate process with the jurisdiction. Reno, Sparks, or Washoe always requires a special use permit for cell towers. And that entails additional public meetings, citizens advisory board meetings, and that sort of thing. And then once these are submitted to the jurisdiction, every resident within a certain distance of the property is notified. And it varies between jurisdictions. For City of Reno, it's 750 feet. Washoe County and Sparks may be a little bit different. I just looked into the city today. I got to turn the page to know what I'm saying next. Not that well versed. Okay, the proponent of the cell tower must then present to citizens advisory boards and then to the planning commission for this specific jurisdiction. Such projects are sometimes subject to city council or county commission action as well. And this presents multiple opportunities for public comment. This can take a great deal of time, and I want to go back to Worcester for an example. We started this process in May of 2013. That's when the Worcester or the Verizon representative first approached us and said, we'd like to put a tower at Worcester. So that was May of 2013, and today there's no tower at Worcester yet. We're still in process. I think Mr. Mayor just recently signed the contract. We just finally got to that point. So it's quite a number of years even to get these things going. So, but with any luck, that tower will start to go up on, this fall, this winter, that sort of thing, but not to interrupt with any of the activities at the school. That's the quick and dirty on what we've got to do per NRS. So if you will, I can now move on to the the Reed bid opening, if that's okay, unless there are any questions about that bid.
Any questions? Okay.
All right. Okay, so this is the second of 2 required public meetings to lease district property for the purpose of renewing an existing cell tower lease at Reed High School. On June 9th of 2015, the board approved a resolution of intent to lease property, which is attachment A in your packet. As required by statute, this was published twice in the Reno Gazette-Journal and posted in public offices in Reno and Sparks. NRS requires that the district open bids for the property no less than 3 weeks from the first required meeting, so we've met that. We can check that box. We've received 1 sealed bid from Pyramid Network Services representing Sprint Wireless. A specific NRS requires, and I'm going to quote from NRS, so this will be fun. It requires the sealed bids must be opened, examined, and declared by the board in public session. After the sealed bid is opened, the board president must call for any oral bids, which must be at least 5% greater than the highest written proposal. So I have here, I kind of feel like Ed McMahon on the old Johnny Carson show. I've got the sealed envelope. You can hold it to your head, Mr. Mayor. So what I need to do is just hand this is sealed, FedEx envelope from the proponent. If I may hand this to Trustee Frankel over to Mr. Mayor and pass it down, and honestly, this is what the NRS calls for.
Wow.
Pass it down, rip it open, and then you must open, examine, and declare what that
I want to hear that declaration.
bid says.
Okay, from Pyramid Service, Network Service, and dear Board of Trustees. This letter is to serve as Sprint proposal for the leased renewal of property located at Reed High School, 1350 Bering Boulevard, Sparks, Nevada, 89434, and parcel number 030010009. Sprint proposal and amendments to the original lease PCS site agreement between the Board of Trustees, Washoe County School District, and it's messed up by a Linkwell Leasing Company, Sprint, dated 10/11/00. The amendment would include the following conditions below: 2 additional terms of 5 years each, a monthly rent rate of $3,000. I think is that 3,000 or 1,000? Can you see that? Okay, 1,000, I'm sorry, with an annual exclamation of 3%. If Sprint elects to terminate this agreement after the term commencement date, but prior to the end of the initial renewal term, or any sequential renewal terms, then Sprint will pay to Washoe County School District a termination fee in the amount of 3 months' rent. Termination fee. Notwithstanding the foregoing, no termination fee will be due if tenant's election to terminate is based on the following reasons. 1, any portion of the site or the facility to do damage is damaged, destroyed, condemned, or transferred to in lieu of condemnation. 2, the site on the facilities becomes inappropriate for tenant's operation because of technology reasons, including without limitation signals interference. Washoe County shall be responsible to pay its own legal and professional contract renewal cost. Next, Sprint to be responsible for any taxes attributed to the lease or improvements sales real personal property as applicable. And next, Sprint may not assign, sublease, or otherwise transfer all or any part of its interests in this agreement or in the premise without the prior written consent of Washoe County School District, provided, however, that Sprint may assign or sublease its interest to its parent company, any subsidiary or affiliate of it, or its parent company, or to any successor interest in entity acquitting 51% or more of its stock or assets, subject to any financing entities. I think they missed. No, interest, if any, in this agreement as set for above, notwithstanding anything to the contrary contained in this agreement. Sprint may assign, mortgage, pledge, hypocrite, or otherwise transfer without consent of interest in this agreement to any financing entity or agent on behalf of any financing agency. 2, within lease, one has obligation to borrow money or in respect of guarantees thereof, or to have obligations evidenced by bonds, notes, or similar instruments, or has obligations under the or with respect to letters of credit, bankers' acceptance, or similar facilities, or in respect of guarantees thereof. Next, all other lease terms of the original lease to remain in full force and effect. Thank you in advance for your prompt attention to this matter. Respectfully submitted by Ann M. Koonsman, Pyramid Network Services, an authorized representative of Sprint. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the next item would be for you to call for any oral bids at this point. If there are any other cell carriers in the crowd that want to come forward.
Are there any oral bids here in the audience that would like to make an oral bid? I see none. Okay.
Okay, so seeing none, the board has the right to accept the bid that it deems in the best public interest, or reject any and all bids and withdraw the property from lease consideration. As you read that, I did notice that, because what I would suggest is looking at comparing that offer with attachment A. There were a couple of items that the carrier did not agree to. They did not agree to an upfront fee of $5,000, which is item number 4 on the approved resolution, which was a $5,000 legal and professional contract review. And it did not look like termination rights were addressed. However, termination rights, we've typically had our legal counsel negotiate that for the final contract when it comes back around to you as well. So I saw one thing as you read through that, Mr. Mayor, that the carrier did not opt to do.
To include it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any discussion or questions? Mr. Rosenberg.
$1,000 a month is what they're going to pay us.
Yes, sir.
That's what they have been paying us?
They've been paying approximately $750 to $800 a month on that one.
Okay.
It is an increase. They have been paying 3% increases since 1999 when this tower was first installed. So we have been, back in 1999, I think we were starting off at $200 or $300 a month. Cell tower technology obviously is much different now. So they are increasing their monthly by about $250, $300 a month. and then agreeing to continue that 3% increase per year.
And if you notice, Chris Cobb,
Yes.
Chief Facilities Management Officer, and if you notice, that falls in line with our appraisal from Steel on the Air. Their suggested price was between $800 to $1,000. Sprint has obviously gone to the high side on that, and additionally, you do have the 3% increase that's written in there.
So it meets the minimum that we had in the bid of 12,000.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I just want to make sure I understood. So based on what we had identified on our list of requirements, the third one is that the lessee had no termination rights during the 5-year term. My understanding is that they were suggesting that they had the ability to terminate and with a 3-month rent payment. So that's one question I have. Is that contradictory? So I just kind of want to get back to that termination piece. And then the second question I had related to, I just caught my attention only because it's more of a question of infrastructure and facilities, but related to technology interference. I imagine that before we put this tower there, we would make sure that there wasn't anything that would either interfere with our technology use at the school, or anything that we had would interfere with what they plan on putting there. So not being a technology expert, I figured I'd at least ask that question.
I'll take part 2. You get part 1.
Okay. All right, well, it's an existing tower, so it's been in there since 1999. The typical interference we get on football fields especially is with scoreboards. Those remote control scoreboards that people work with the little buttons. And we work with the carrier to make sure their frequencies are not going to interfere with that.
Okay.
So certainly we do that. Did I take part 2 or Judge?
Yeah.
I think you
took
took
part
part 2. So go back to part 1.
Try part
Yeah,
one.
go back to
Part
part
one.
1, determination.
Oh, termination, right, exactly.
Termination.
And I think, Trustee Frankel, that would be a decision that you would have to make, that the board would have to make, if that's acceptable to you, if that term, if that, I guess, consolation prize is acceptable to the board, you could vote on that.
Barbara?
Well, it appears to me that it's pretty definitive in here that the termination language as agreed to by legal counsel for each party. I think that we're one step ahead of where we probably need to be. That is to say, those things that were noticed by the trustees here today in relationship to not meeting all of these criteria, they may meet them, they may not meet them. I think the legal and you all need to take a look at that and make a decision before we make any final authorization to accept that contract. That's what I think.
Yes. Dr. Taylor?
The other thing that came to, at least the thing that came to, one of the things that came to my attention was the legal aspect, which I think Barbara addressed. There was a lot of legalese there at the bottom that I would feel more comfortable if Mike had an opportunity to look at. And then in addition, it said all other terms of the previous contract would be in effect. I'm not sure what those terms are, so it would be nice to be able to take a look. And I'm not sure it's probably fine because it's worked well since 1999, but I think just our knowing what those terms are would be helpful.
Mr. Rosenberg?
I don't think it's enough money.
It's only bid.
It's only-
unfortunate. Maybe we should go up for more bids.
Any others?
Let me make a quick comment.
Yes.
I appreciate Trustee Taylor's comment asking that maybe I should look at that. However, I don't need more work, and this will save you a few bucks. I think that that is a matter for the school district staff council, unless you specifically prefer.
No, not at all. Just legal counsel. I'm certainly comfortable with our legal team here taking a look, certainly.
So we could have a motion then to delay this pending examination by our legal department.
I believe that the NRS does provide that. You can accept the bids, reject them, or withdraw the property. And I would defer to legal counsel again if there's an area between those accepting and rejecting to defer. You're not necessarily saying yes or no. You're saying we need more information.
I respond.
Yes.
I think you can defer as long as you don't accept any more bids in the meantime.
Okay.
Just as an addition, certainly defer until Chris's team, Chris Cobb's team, Chris Reich's team can take a look at it. And then also just knowing what the other terms that kind of come along with this, that they referred to, but to have that included in what his staff takes a look at as well.
Have staff and legal department review the bid proposal.
Can we have Andrea Sullivan step up from our purchasing department? Thank you.
Hi there. For the record, Andrea Sullivan, Director of Procurement and Contracts. We do work very closely with the General Counsel's office. We do need you guys to, though, I think at this meeting to go ahead and determine whether you want to accept this bid. Then they go through their process with the city and they have to go through all of that. Then they present a final contract, and that's where we see all of the terms and conditions laid out. We can go back then and ask them, certain things. We can negotiate termination. I would review and approve that. The General Counsel's office would review and approve it. And the last time we did have a sticking point that I was uncomfortable with, and we brought it back to you so that you understood what that sticking point was and to make sure you understood what you were agreeing to. So if there's anything like that, we would in fact bring it back.
That works for me.
And you understand the question that's been raised about this on the termination?
Yes, but
Okay.
Everything in that letter might or might not be in their resulting contract at the end. And so we will read all of that legal language.
Okay.
We will look at their termination rights and our termination rights. And in fact, termination was what we got hung up on during the last cell phone tower. And then we'll also review it with the General Counsel's office for sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there somebody that wants to make the motion to that?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move that the Board of Trustees awards the bid to Lisa Communications Antenna Site at Reed High School to the highest written or oral bid that meets or exceeds the minimum bid of $12,000 annually, and abides by the 10 conditions outlined in the resolution of intent to lease property at Reed High School.
Okay, is there a second to that motion? And that includes going back and reviewing it
Absolutely.
by our departments and then bringing it back once that's done.
May I ask one question just briefly? There was the one item of the legal and contract review fee of $5,000 that the bidder did not agree to. I just wanted to call that out to make sure that if the motion includes that particular one.
If it includes the 10, then that would be
Yes, ma'am, that would,
opposite of that.
that would include that $5,000, which the bidder did not include in their bid.
Well, there was no second, so we can certainly change the motion. Am I correct?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Then I move that the Board of Trustees awards a bid to Lisa Communication Antenna Site at Reed High School to the highest written or oral bid that meets or exceeds the minimum bid of $12,000 annually and abides by by the aforementioned 9 conditions outlined in the resolution of intent to lease property at Reed High School.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded by Dr. McClure. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same signal.
No.
No. Let the record show that it's not unanimous with Howard Rosenberg in the negative. Okay. Let's see, you want to just...
There, Chris, thank you.
Okay, and you're here, Mike, for the next one,
Yes, sir.
4.02.
Yes, sir, again, Mike.
Presentation on discussion and possible approval of a resolution to lease a cellular communication site at Vaughn Middle School.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Again, Mike Bosser with Capital Projects. This item outlines a proposal by Verizon Wireless to install a new cell tower at Vaughn Middle School. This was originally reviewed during the June 9th Board of Trustees meeting, at which time further information was requested by the board, as well as additional outreach to Vaughn parents and families. To that end, a 3-hour open house style meeting was held on July 15th to allow Vaughn parents, students, and neighbors to review the proposal and to ask questions of Verizon and district representatives. Most of the questions asked had to do with what the tower was going to be used for, and no negative comments were received. And about the Connect Ed, The meeting was announced via that system. It went out to 638 Vaughn families on July 10th and 14th. And we had approximately 10 to 12 people attend the meeting during that 3-hour period. And again, their questions mainly had to do with what is a cell tower. So if this proposal is ultimately approved by the board, the city of Reno will require Verizon to submit for a special use permit to be reviewed by their planning commission. SUPs in Reno require every property owner within 750 feet of the subject property to be notified and invite them to the planning commission to provide comments. I did a rough GIS calculation this morning and determined that approximately 450 properties are located within 750 feet of Vaughn. And I used the corners of the property to ensure I get the maximum number. And you'll notice that we hit 638 families in that broader neighborhood with our Connect Ed. So we actually probably got a wider swath, maybe not every single resident around the school, but they will be notified during the public process with the city of Reno. And so there will be some people that get notified 2, 3, 4 times if this goes to city council, because there can be appeals, there can be different processes, delays, deferrals, that sort of thing. The staff report also contains several attachments. Probably the most I've put in a staff report goes through the letter I think, regarding cell tower related actions by previous boards dating back to 2011. Should you move forward with this proposal, a resolution to lease must be adopted listing the property details and any board requirements. The resolution will then be published in the newspaper twice and posted at the public offices. Bids for the lease would then be open no less than 3 weeks from today, which is tentatively set for the August 25th board meeting. A suggested resolution is included as attachment D. NRS requires that the district obtain 2 appraisals for the property, and we have these values. The 2 we have are from the 2015 federal lands rental fee schedule, and their value comes in at $7,763.32 per year. And also, the second appraisal, we hired an independent firm named Steel in the Air, which indicated a range between $16,800 and $21,600 per year, as well as 13 conditions of approval, which are included in the suggested resolution. Verizon is proposing a new 100-foot cell tower and a 324 square foot fenced area for their radio equipment. Locations have been reviewed by Vaughn staff and facilities management staff to ensure operations, maintenance, and safety on the site are not compromised. Site plans and elevations are included in the staff report as attachment C for your review. Also, the photo simulations came in just today. And so, JJ, if you all want the photo simulations up on there they are. So, oh, awesome, fantastic. So what they do is they it's a before and after picture, and you take a look at it and you see what the tower is proposed to look like. It's not an exact, but it's a photo simulation of what is proposed. Any required federal, state, or local permits must be obtained at the sole expense of the chosen cellular carrier. It's recommended that the board sets the minimum bid for the lease and then adopt the resolution of intent to lease the property at Vaughn Middle School. I think we may have Verizon representatives in the audience today, and if they are, I'm going to spin around and just take a look. Apparently we don't.
They're playing hooky.
We don't have Verizon representatives today. I'll amend that. So in that event, if you have any questions, please let me know, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Any questions? Mr. Rosenberg.
I'll say it again, it's not enough money. The reason I'm saying that is Falia Dondero down south worked a deal with one of the sign companies. They put up a billboard, and they paid $2,700 a month for that billboard. Now, it's a billboard. Hello? This is a hell of a lot more involved, and I would think the company makes a great deal more money being able to provide service that they couldn't provide without this. So I think that we need more money. Now, there's 2 possibilities here. Which one do we take, or are they offering one of them and not the other?
We don't know.
As far as Verizon has not yet proposed a bid, that would be the next meeting.
Okay.
What you're doing, you're announcing your intent to lease at this point.
Fine.
As I read it in the resolution of intent, the second provision is that we have a lease rate of $1,800 per month with an annual increase of 3%. I just wanted to.
That I would.
And that is the maximum that, we've recommended that because that is the maximum of our independent appraiser.
Fine.
So we're putting it on the floor there.
1,800, I'll buy.
Any, Dr. Taylor?
I just want to thank Mike and Chris. When you came here before, about a month ago, we asked that you get some feedback from the local residents and you know, parents and families in that neighborhood, and you did that in a really extensive way. So I appreciate your doing that and then coming back, and even though there were no negative comments, you know, I think it's important that we give them an opportunity to say, this is what we're thinking about in your neighborhood that may make a difference for your schools, you know, for your homes, or whatever. So I just want to thank the two of you for going out and doing, you know, what it is that the board asked and bringing that information back.
Thank you, ma'am. That was the biggest worry I had walking in here, and so thank you. I'm glad we did that as well.
And I think we have a regulation that half of the fee is given to the school that is the property, and the other half goes into for other schools to share in this, right?
A previous board, President Mayor, here's the breakdown that a previous board ruled on. That rental fee schedule, that federal rental fee schedule, that amount is provided to the school. Anything above and beyond that is put into a pool that is made available to those schools that do not have cell towers. And they're typically elementary schools. We don't have any cell towers at elementary schools.
Yeah.
So those schools obviously can't get that revenue, so it's made available in a pool. But that's the breakdown.
Once it's over the cap, then it's shared, but the cap under the cap goes to the school.
Yes, sir, that federal
So like
amount.
Vaughn will get that money to spend at Vaughn.
That's been previous boards'
Okay.
rulings. Yes,
To be
sir.
clear on this, just so that we're clear, Chris Cobb, Chief Facilities Management Officer. By NRS, it's required by law to go into the Building and Sites Fund. So this money from the cell tower leases does all go into the Building and Sites Fund. There's separate JLs set up for these schools that do have a cell tower, but we're meeting NRS, and so we're not violating any issues there. So through that, schools are able to do projects through the certain funds where the money is goes to appropriately.
So they can, like if this goes through at the 2,000 or whatever level a month, then they could wait and accumulate
Yes, sir.
the whole year for a project that they wanted, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just wanted to get that on record. Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion if there's no further questions.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I move that the Board of Trustees adopts the resolution of intent to lease property for the lease of a cellular communication site at Vaughn Middle School at the higher of the two values as suggested by Still in the Air and the federal rental fee schedule for the communication uses. Lease amounts received will be deposited into the district's Building and Sites Fund as required by NRS 391-.320 and available for capital project improvements as directed by the Washoe County School District Board of Trustees. Receipt and opening of bids will be scheduled for the August 25th, 2015 Board of Trustees meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same signal. So carried. Let the
I just actually had a question now that go ahead, you can finish the message.
let the record show unanimously. Yes.
I just want to ask that, since we approved this today, that when it does go before the Planning Commission, in the event that there is public comment, I would ask that that be brought back to us as information for us to consider. And maybe you were planning on doing that anyway, and so thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am. Typically, I do attend those when it involves the district property. I'm there to provide comment, and I can bring that back to you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And that was great that you went 650 people instead of just a little bit amount. That's terrific.
Yeah,
Terrific.
thank you for that.
Okay, 5.01, board members' requests for future Board of Trustee agendas and agenda items. Dr. McCleary.
Yes, I'm concerned and have been concerned about what's going on with the Traynor Library. and wondering the status of our communication with the city, the library board, whatever, that's county,
County?
in relationship to all of that. We do have
Would you like
a library coordinator, I think.
Yeah.
So you want a mini presentation type of where we are?
I just am curious. I mean, the only thing I ever heard about it was brought to us via the newspaper. And at that point, they hadn't contacted anyone on the school board.
I think a part of that should be just what she did mention the city. My understanding is the funds that we put in towards the library comes from a grant that we got from the city. So CDBG, CDBG funds,
Yeah.
block grant funds. So when the impact of those funds and our agreement, will we be in violation if they do make a decision to close? That I think that information would help us inform whatever steps we may decide to take, should we decide to, as well.
Okay, so our library director of libraries will give us a report at a future agenda as soon as
The
possible.
chief of staff has taken note.
Okay. As soon as possible, we'd like it.
Yes.
Yes.
I did actually speak with the chief of staff about this, but I'll just say it on the record that one of the things I'd like to hear about as soon as we know is an update on the categorical funding and what implications that has. We may not know anything, but at least an update on where we stand with all the different funding decisions that were made at the state legislature and how is that going to impact us and when will we know more? So, all the different areas, the GT, Zoom, Victory, all of those.
And so, as we mentioned at the last meeting, we're going to do rotations some are one and done, make a policy how we're accountable, and some are committee, buy-in, parents, the team comes up with the plan. And I know, particularly GT has posted their plan and had a discussion about the needs and with input from committees, where some of them haven't. And as we get those, we will start scheduling.
Okay.
The work is starting to get done.
Okay. Any other agenda items?
Just confirming we're scheduled to hold our meeting at Incline in September?
It's
Is that correct?
September 23rd, I think. 28th?
September 8th.
8th, September 8th.
I just put it on my calendar, whenever it is.
September 8th, okay.
Eight?
Thank you for
September 8th,
doing that.
okay. All right, the next meeting will be August 11th, 2015 at 2 p.m. in this boardroom. Hope to see everyone there. So we're adjourned.
Be there or be still.